Y'all planning for this?
Hello, TPR Nation. This is Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer, and we are going to be talking about Surge. Surge is dedicated focus time in which we meet with all of our clients over a few weeks, and we have been finessing and massaging and correcting how we do Surge for decades now. This was implemented by Floyd and Rosa Shalansky. Well, truthfully, if you really want to talk about the first inventor of Surge, I guess it would be God in the Old Testament in Genesis when we have the first 7 days of what was created. But beyond then, we have in the financial planning world something that we used to call the strategic days, focus days, buffer days. And we implemented that a few times in our practice. And my dad really didn't like it in the sense that it pulled him in and out of work. It was too disruptive to sometimes work and sometimes not work. So he began to practice working with clients in time-blocked periods. Time-blocked periods. So whenever you time block, that is where you have a dedicated time that starts and stops in which you are supposed to be doing very specific deep focus work. And what we discovered in our registered investment advisory firm in Anchorage, Alaska, is that when we took all of the financial advisors, because we do run an enterprise office where we have multiple financial advisors, and we were all meeting with our clients during very specific dedicated times on the calendar, oh my goodness, lightning in a bottle, collective synergy, over the top collaboration as we were all focused on providing the most amount of value to clients. So over the years, we have been perfecting what we believe that Surge is. And you, if you are not implementing Surge and you're a financial advisor listening to this podcast, what are you doing with your life? You need to be implementing Surge. If you take one step this year that is going to transform your business, it is going to be implementing Surge. Surge is good for clients, it's good for the financial advisor, and it is good for your family and your team members that surround you as well. But Surge has specific rules. You have to be able to understand how, when, and why you need to implement certain techniques inside of Surge to make them really effective. So at Shalansky & Associates, our first Surge happens every single year between mid-March and mid-April. Do not make up your own dates. Take our dates and implement them. Why are they mid-March to mid-April? Because guess what? Every taxpayer in the entire country is doing between that time. Yes, they're getting all of their documentation ready for their CPA, ready for their enrolled agent, or they're downloading and entering it into TurboTax. They are in a document gathering mode. And we have found that when we want to get the most amount of information from clients, we do it during this time. We give them a list of all of the items that we want to see. One of the rules that I live by is if it is not documented, it is not done. It is my responsibility as a financial advisor not just to take the word of my client that something is actually documented and done. Instead, I want to see proof that it was done. Not because Mr. and Mrs. Client might not be telling me the truth, but because whoever they handed that form to update their beneficiary designation, to make a different 401k salary deferral election, that person may not have done their job correctly. They may have, but I don't know them. The client doesn't really know them, and I'm not going to take for granted that it was done correctly, especially when you have clients that you've been working with for 20, 30, 40 years, in which their paper file at some point became an electronic file. I am not going to take for granted that the documentation that we want to see on file is done until my pretty hazel eyes have already looked upon it and I can verify that. And I tell clients this. I say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I am so controlling. I have to see these documents with my own eyes to verify for your benefit that they are done. And if I do not get copies of the documentation, I am going to incessantly bug my relationship managers to get me these documents. So they don't have a mutiny on me. Would you please make sure that you provide it to them? And everyone will get a good laugh. And of course, they'll respond and provide those documentations to our office. All of those documents, everything that they give us, leave-in earning statements, tax documents, statements for brokerage accounts that maybe we don't manage, 401ks, insurance policies, declaration pages, all of it, all of the documentation that they give us, I am going to have my team of paraplanners enter into our Infinity CRM. Infinity is a custom CRM that Micah Shalansky, my brother, and I built, and we have been finessing through the decades. And it is a powerhouse. It is our brain trust. It is our vault of information. And every move we make regarding a client goes into Infinity and is documented. All our policies, all our processes, all of our notes, anything that we touch that involves that client is mostly inside of Infinity, or tells you in Infinity where to go get if it's kept in another electronic filing system. So I want to make sure I've got all of that inside of our CRM so that later when we are producing value adds, we can generate them from the CRM. Now, because my value adds are being generated from my CRM, garbage in, garbage out. So if I'm populating my CRM Infinity with a whole bunch of client nonsense, taking for granted what they said instead of looking at it as a statement, the onerous and burden to verify that information is accurate is on me. I'm providing that value add. I'm going to present it to the client. I'm going to ask the client to verify if it's correct, and they're going to say yes, no, or maybe something was invalid or changed, or they, consolidated or got rid of something, and they can verify that information. But if I'm putting it on that value add, I want to see documentation that it is accurate. Too many times have I sat down with somebody that has told me that they have something that may not be exactly as they recall it being. How many times have you, as a financial advisor, asked the client if they had a Roth? And they said, oh yeah, I've been contributing it for years. You get them in your retirement, and guess what it is? It's an IRA, not a Roth. So now your tax planning is completely invalid in their financial plan. So you're making sure you're putting documentation on everything. And if it's not documented, it's not done. Any document that we receive, we're putting that information into Infinity CRM, garbage in, garbage out. And we want to make sure that when we produce these value adds, it's based on the documents that the client provides and not just what we are being told. That may not be so. All right, one of the questions I got is, since we do have an enterprise office, they said, Jamie, we have multiple financial advisors in our office and we can't all come to consensus on when we should have surge. Could you provide some understanding about how your office does that? Because we have 5 to 6 financial advisors in our office. I say 2-6 because we have one studying for the CFP right now, so we're almost there. We'll call it a 0.5. But when we come together, of course you cannot decide, because you cannot rule by committees. Committees cannot decide on things. And so in our office, our C-suite, which is our chief officers, come together collaboratively and we decide the surge a year or more in advance. And this is the reason why we do it a year or more in advance. One of my very hard rules about surge is that there's no time off during surge. There's no time off during surge. And so if you are an employee and you come in, and I can always feel the energy when they're about to ask me, and they say, hey, can I ask you a question? And I said, you can ask me any question as long as it's not time off during surge. Now I've set the tone. Now if they ask me for time off during surge, they already know it's going to be a hard no. We don't allow for that. And the reason that we don't allow for it is because it breaks what we are trying to create. We're trying to deliver as much value as possible to our clients during a very hyper-focused block of time. And if we have employees in and out, it's going to be completely disruptive about that. How dedicated am I to this? One of my cousins, to which I was a bridesmaid, asked me a year in advance for my surge schedule so they could plan their wedding around when they knew I was going to be available. Why? Because when we were talking about it before, I said, hey, if you do it during surge, I cannot be there. I cannot be there during surge. Now, I also don't like to travel out of state the week before surge because I want to make sure that I'm doing all my client prep and preparation documentation, all that kind of stuff. But immediately following the conclusion of surge, I need to give myself like 2 to 3 days, and then I like to get the hell out of town. Why? Because I am going to be operating at such a high demanding level for several weeks on time that I'm going to need to decompress. And not that I need to relax because I'm exhausted. In fact, our surges, depending on the calendar day, we see 5, and for most financial advisors, most of us Shalanskys see between 7 and 11 clients. Our day can start as early as 7 a.m. with appointments. Our last appointment is no later than 4 p.m. Alaska time. Why? We're top heavy. We're really energized and pumped in the morning, but my goodness, by the afternoon, we're kind of fatigued and done. Now, when we get out of those meetings, we still have to do all of our dictation. So the way that Surge looks for the financial advisor is that 1 to 2 weeks in advance of Surge starting, you need to have all of your client preparation done for the first couple of weeks of Surge. Now, when you're going through Surge, Monday through Friday is when us Shalansky's have ours. Most of our financial advisors are proteges. They have Monday through Thursday. And the reason is they need to build their stamina and endurance so they don't get client fatigue coming onto that Friday. And they also have to have time to get their stuff done. And so whatever promises they made to the client during that meeting, they got to have time to go get those. Our telephone appointments are done in normally 30-minute blocks with a 15-minute break in between. And then our in-house in-person are done for an hour. Now, we have indicated in our system that we have 2 clients that take a lot longer than an hour. It's a cultural thing from where they came in the bush in Alaska. And so we'll put those at the very end of the day, maybe at 4 o'clock, because the energy is just at a slower pace. But those are the exceptions. Those are not the rules. And we don't keep clients waiting. Appointments must end on time, and barring that there is no crisis. And so we have multiple conference rooms at Shalansky & Associates. If you'd like to see a layout of what our conferences look like, conference room in our office looks like, and you're a member of the Perfect RA, email us and we'll make sure that we can see what it looks like. One of the things that we do in our office is when you come in, this is a hack by our mom and dad, Floyd and Rosa Shalansky, is that it often looks like a living room. We've got real nice couches, real nice chairs. We have fresh Otis Spunkmeyer cookies that come out. We have clients that stop by out of Surge when they're downtown just to come in and get cookies. So even when we're outside of Surge, we always have hot cookies on the table for people. Coffee, tea, bottled waters, assortments, etc., sparkling waters. And then we have a TV that plays family pictures of everyone in our organization. And we have their name up there too, so that as clients wait, they get to see that we actually live the truths that we speak about in the conference room. That family really is the most important thing. We get the most amount of compliments about that family TV. Even when people come in and we just upload all the photos to Google Photos. So about February of every single year, we'll go out to all the team members and ask them to upload into the shared drive any folders that they feel comfortable sharing with their family. We'll have one team member, I didn't even ask her to, she's just so great about it. She'll go through and put people's names on there so clients can know who is who, because half of our team is virtual throughout the United States. And so the client might talk to a lot of us, but not see a lot of us necessarily. And that has been just a great value add. It's a low IQ hack for your waiting room, and clients absolutely love it because so much of our conversations as financial advisors is about providing for spouses, taking care of the family, and especially as people inch closer and closer to retirement, they want to do things different. You know, my dad often jokes with us adult children, because now we all have children of our own, and he said, you know why grandparents and grandkids get along so well? And of course my brother and I are like, yeah, because you let him get away with all the crap you didn't let us do when we were kids. And he goes, no, that's not the case at all. It's because we have a common enemy. And so then it gets a good laugh with everyone. And so they get to see us living our truths. They get to see that family is the most important and what we do outside of the office. And it's just been great. Low IQ, high value hack for us. So prior to Surge starting, those first couple of weeks, the financial advisor is going to be making sure that the financial plan is in ready. Now, our relationship managers are the ones responsible for running the calendar. And so as they schedule things out, they'll send to a client via email all of the documentation that the financial advisor committee has asked for during that Surge. It can vary Surge to Surge, what we want to see. And so they'll give them a punch list of things that we would like the client to upload into the securebox.com portal. Now, all of our clients, we have over 500 households that we work with. All of our clients use box.com with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 that are in their late 80s or early 90s that have a hard time with that. So our relationship managers will make sure that we have all of the documents necessary for the appointment. We ask all clients to provide documentation that they want us to review 72 business hours in advance. If they do it less than that time, then we also set the expectation the financial advisor will not have time necessarily to review their documents. This has worked really great because then in a client meeting, if the client goes, hey, I just uploaded it to you last night, I don't know if you saw it. Now, Mike and I will probably almost always see it because we're going to go in and look at that box, and Floyd too, and look at that box account before. But that's not necessarily true of all of our employees. employees and our financial advisors, and they might not have time to digest what they're seeing that was uploaded, but we're in the habit of doing so. Something that we started a few years ago that is so low IQ that we shook our heads and couldn't believe we weren't doing it before. And if you're not doing it, you're going to feel like an idiot once I tell you what it is, and you should immediately implement. So our relationship managers go to our clients and they say, hey, in preparation of your appointment, are there any questions that you have that you want to make sure that you ask your financial advisor during the meeting? And our relationship managers will go ask those questions to the client. The client will give them their questions, and then the relationship manager puts that inside of Infinity and tags it to their appointment with any supporting documentation that they need. How stupid were we for so many years not asking the client prior to the appointment, what are their questions? So now we do, and that gives the client the opportunity to say, hey, I don't have any questions, just a general update, or yeah, actually, I've got a lot of questions. You know, my dad died, I'm inheriting this account, these are the things I'm splitting with my brothers and sisters. I don't know how this works in a different state. Can you provide me with guidance? And so now we know what's on the client's mind. And so when we set up our surge schedule, the financial advisor committee will set that time a year in advance or more and say, this is when surge happens. There's no time off. And all financial advisors have to agree to that surge. Now, with us, because I just told you that the Shalansky sees 7 to 11 appointments and we go Monday through Friday, but our protege financial advisors, they go Monday through Thursday. So their surge ends up being 1 week or 2 weeks longer than the Shalansky surge. So our surge fluctuates between 4 and 6 weeks. It cannot go 7, it cannot go 8. Why? Because when you are in surge, so is your team, and you cannot put them in perpetual surge. It just doesn't work. It's very difficult for them to operate at that high level and get things done when they're at that capacity all year round. So dress rehearsal. Dress rehearsal is what I require for all team members to happen just before surge. And this can happen the week before on any declared date that everyone is physically in the office, everyone is connected on their computers, everyone's got their monitors set up, that they can print to the printers, they can do all of those things because we have a hybrid working arrangement. So when we're not in surge, a lot of our team can work from anywhere according to our hybrid work arrangement agreement. And in that case, when we come back to the office, sometimes people forgot passcodes, maybe their computer crashed. If they had a desktop at the office, they can't connect to the printer. Well, I want all of those kinks worked out before surge begins. The worst thing in the world is coming in Monday morning for surge and you can't freaking log on to your computer because it crashed over the weekend or had an Apple update that ends up taking 36 hours to populate. So we've eliminated that with a dress rehearsal. Dress rehearsal means you're coming in your business clothes. Because we have that work from anywhere arrangement, when people are not physically in our Anchorage office, there's a lot more casual attire worn at home. And so when we are in surge, we are not casual because the work we do is not casual. We are in our work attire and it is business professional. I don't care what my client wears. I care about what I wear and what my team wears. And so we have policies on work clothing. A few things that I do during surge, the month prior, I will make sure that I jump on Amazon and I start ordering a whole bunch of healthy snacks. I will order toothbrushes that have paste already on them, Listerine pouches for the restroom, lotion, hairspray, static guard, things to freshen up. I will have all those amenities during surge available for me and my team. I also have my executive assistant order meals for everyone during surge in office. And so during that time frame, I want healthy meals. This is not pizza. These are not tacos. These are high nutrient items. A lot of times during surge, employees don't necessarily get at that lunch break to run out and go get something. Not that we're denying it, but they have prioritized getting their work done so that they can get out on time. And we also live in Alaska. And so getting out during these surge periods means that you could be unshoveling snow off of your vehicle, driving in conditions that aren't great, and you're spending your entire lunch hour trying to get some type of fast food item instead of something else. Now, it is a policy. I always offer two choices during surge, and it's called take it or leave it. I'm not catering to everyone. If anyone has a dietary issue, they give it to my executive assistant ahead of time, and then she's responsible for making sure that everyone has a meal during surge, and that if they have a dietary restriction, not a preference, that is accommodated. I don't ask everyone what they want every every single day. I'm not doing that. And she is not doing that. Instead, we have a calendar who's going to be in office, and their meals are ordered and they are delivered to our office so that everyone can eat. I like the delivery time 11 a.m. because if it is 1 p.m. and you're the financial advisor and you are starving for food as you're trying to shovel something down between appointments, your energy is going to begin to dissipate. So I want the food delivered at the office at 11 a.m. so everyone can eat at their own discretion. We're really, really great about this. We have a breakout room as well. We have a focus room where if people need to make phone calls and not be interrupted, they can do so. Each financial advisor has different workstations, conference rooms, and we keep everything running like a very well-oiled machine inside of the practice during Surge. All right, so that is what I am doing as a financial advisor a couple of weeks before the appointments. Now, when the appointments begin and I'm in the office and I'm working all day long, after I finish out my last client appointment, I am responsible for making sure that I do all of my dictation. I try to do my dictation at the conclusion of every meeting, but sometimes my schedule is a little bit too tight. I do not wait to go home and do dictation on most days. I get my dictation done before I get in that car because I commute with Floyd. I pick him up and I take him to and from during Surge periods. And when we are in the car, him and I are collaborating, discussing, going over things, but we have an hour-long commute. And about 30 minutes into that commute, our energy begins to drain and we start getting talked out. We just spent the whole entire day talking to clients. And so we start getting talked out and we see that our energy is kind of winding down. And then we get home and we put the work away. I don't want to get home and do 3 to 4 hours of more work. That doesn't work for my family environment. And so instead, I want to put the work away and I want to be present during dinner and maybe go on a walk or spend time with my spouse hearing about what happened in their life, etc. And so this is going to go on Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday, this is when Micah appointment preps because he does not work on Sundays. And then I have a reverse of that. A lot of times people are reaching out to me for things and Sunday is a really quiet day for me. So Sunday, I'm looking at my schedule for the week ahead. I'm making sure if any last minute documents were uploaded that I've taken care of it and that I don't have anything outstanding. My relationship managers, if I failed to do a memo to record or if I failed to do a homework sheet is the piece of paper, ours are all on our iPads that we write on during Surge that gives us all of our notes and also our action items. Our relationship managers are responsible every single week within 48 hours to look at the calendar and make sure that we have done dictation and homework sheets for every single client, for every single financial advisor. If we don't, the relationship manager must nag that financial advisor until they have it completed. If it is not documented, it is not done. We don't allow meetings to happen that don't have memos associated with them or homework sheets. It is our responsibility as a financial advisor to recapture for the employees what was supposed to happen in that meeting. Now, because memos are being recorded via dictation and then they are being transcribed by our relationship managers and actions assigned to our operations team, our relationship management team, or actions assigned to the financial advisor to do things, I have to be abundantly clear about what I want my team to do. There is no ambiguity. There is no saying, hey, operations, I think we should do a Roth conversion. That does not mean anything to my operations staff who is responsible for the movement of money. Rather, I must say, operations. Bob has a traditional IRA. Sue has a traditional IRA. I want to convert $50,000 out of Bob's IRA to his Roth and $50,000 out of Sue's IRA to her Roth. Please make this happen before October 15th of this year. And then what do I want to have happen with the taxes? And then I outline, please have 20% withheld and sent to the IRS. Or I say, please make sure the client knows their tax liability and issues a check immediately. We don't wait until April for it to be a tax surprise on the conversion. This will set you up for failure every single time, especially if a client is working with the CPA and who says, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I cannot believe your financial professional caused this tax liability for you. You now owe $20,000 for the IRS. Had they not done this, you wouldn't owe that. And then they're going to completely forget all the reasons they did a Roth conversion and the benefits that they're going to have in tax savings for the years to come. We want to be crystal clear in our dictation about who is doing what and at what time frame and exactly how things are supposed to happen. And we want to get that dictation done right away because I just shared with you how many clients we're going to be meeting with week after week. And when that happens, if my relationship managers come to me me and at the end of Surge and say, hey, you forgot to do dictation from somebody at the beginning, guess what? Now I have to go off of memory. Now I have to pull up my homework sheet and remember what we discussed. And it's going to be an okay thing for me to do. It's not going to be a great thing for me to do. There is no better time to recapture a conversation than immediately after it happens. And by the way, I keep Dictate on my phone, and it is on my home screen, so it's immediately there for my app. So if I do talk to a client or I run into them socially or I have something happen or I'm thinking about having an action taken, I immediately dictate that. I very rarely send an email to my team telling them I need to do something. It almost always comes in the form of a memorandum from me dictating whatever conversation that we just had and recapturing the action items inside of it. So that is what the Surge Week looks like for me as the financial advisor. Now let's talk about what it looks like for the relationship managers and the operations team. So as I informed you, the Surge schedule means that relationship managers are going to be really, really busy about 2 weeks prior. Now, do we schedule appointments prior to that 2-week window? Heck yes. We'll have some clients that book out their Surge for the entire year, and their appointments are already done. But a lot of times we'll have the relationship management team schedule the appointment a few months or weeks in advance, but clients won't upload any documentation until it's time for their appointments. And so this is one of the areas that the relationship managers have come back to me and they're like, listen, if you could get your clients to upload their documents prior to their appointment, it would be really helpful for us, because then we wouldn't be scrambling to get all the information into Infinity, to get it all into the electronic file system, and to make sure that you had all their questions so that you had the materials to answer them. And I said, yes, I bet it would. I bet that would be really beneficial. I bet it would benefit you, and it would definitely benefit me. But guess when a client is going to do it? A client is going to do it when it is the right time for them and most important to them. And so when is the right time for them? The right time for them is right when they're preparing for their appointment that week. And so I can't always guarantee that the client is going to do it. That is Parkinson's law. The work takes up the time you allow it to do. And so for half of our clients, they'll get the information to us right away. The other half of the clients, guess what? They're going to wait till the day before their appointment to get it over to us. And that's on the client. At some point, the client has some onerous into providing us the documents that we requested, so we had adequate time to review them. Their lack of preparation does not make it an emergency on my behalf nor my team's. And so we have to kind of finesse those rules and let them know, hey, this is when it worked for them. Good news is we can talk about it with them in a mini Surge, or maybe we have a buffer day, or we figure something else out. But we set the expectation with the client that might not always happen. Now, the second that clients walk through the door, the relationship manager is up and out of her seat. This is a requirement. I cannot stand to walk into an office in which somebody remains seated and talking on the phone while you're standing physically right in front of them. So what we like to do during Surge is I redirect the phones to another relationship manager who's not up front. And then that up front person is responsible for getting up and out of their seat and chit-chatting with the clients and making sure they're taken care of. Sometimes this means scanning documents that the client bring in. Sometimes this is providing a copy of something the client has asked for, maybe a value add from the last Surge. And sometimes this is just talking to them about whether or not they're enjoying the weather or the vacations and the holidays. Our relationship managers are people, and they're responsible for all of the high touches, the above and beyond. One of the things that I've heard, and I love to repeat this from the mountaintops because it's so true. My good friend Libby in the financial advisor space, she always says, items with your logo are not gifts, they're marketing. Items with your logo are not gifts, they are marketing. And that is so true. And so what my relationship managers do is they listen for opportunities to anticipate needs or desires. And so this is when they hear from the client that they're going to go on holiday, or maybe they're going to have a first grandbaby that just got born. Maybe they had a new puppy. We've sent puppy chew toys to clients after learning that they just adopted or bought a dog. We have sent my littlest tax deduction, little onesies to the adult children of clients in that. So we have done a lot of things like that that are high touches that don't have our logo written all over them, that are gifts, and allow the client to know that we're intricately listening and happy and celebrating those times in their lives. Super important responsibility of a relationship manager is to be empathetic and listen to anticipated and unanticipated needs on behalf of the client. Our relationship managers get all of the dictation. Another reason that they're responsible for the dictation is because they get to hear about what's going on in the client's lives. Sometimes the client doesn't always share with the person out front, but they do share with the financial advisor. And now the relationship manager has an opportunity to deliver high value to that client because they heard what happened in that meeting, and now they can go do high touches. Now, high touches do have income limits. They have to fall within the parameters as set by the guidelines for gift giving. And then we have to keep a track of them. Every single one of our employees is given a budget that if they think of a high touch, including our operations team, that they do not have to come and ask permission, that they get to execute on it, make note of it inside of Infinity CRM, and make sure that the client is taken care of. All right, so relationship managers, super busy during the beginning and super busy during the thralls of Surge. But as Surge concludes, their workload begins to dissipate. And that means that pressure valve is going to be, that workload is going to shift over to our operations team. Our operations team is responsible for the movement of money. They open accounts, they close accounts, they transfer accounts, they set up contributions, distributions. Some of them are licensed, some of them aren't licensed. So they have varying responsibilities as it comes to the movement of money. And so once we start meeting with clients, we're going to start generating a lot of operational work that has to get done. Now, one of the policies I've shared with you at the Perfect RA is that we don't ask for same-day paperwork. This was a big rule of our lead operations team member that said, listen, this stresses me out at most, and it provides a miserable client experience because the only thing that's going to happen is that I'm going to be shoddy in my work, copying and pasting and working in a fury to get these forms ready for you. Or the very worst thing that could ever happen, I'm going to hand you a stack of blank forms and my God, you're going to try to help the client, aren't you? You as a financial advisor should not try to fill out client paperwork. You're miserable at it. And so if you're filling out that client paperwork and then you're like, you know what, I don't know if you need to sign these areas, let me go grab an operations person and bring them in the conference room. Now you're just adding salt to the wound. It's just been creating this terrible client experience because relationship managers are people. Operations people think that the customer service is one of their highest values, but they're just not customer service related. They want to get the job done. They want to do it to perfection, but they're kind of awkward in a conference room. So you want to be really cognizant of that, and you don't want to keep them unprepared for it. You want to make sure that they have plenty of time to prepare for service appointments. And we do schedule operation appointments. Operation team members do meet with clients, but they are scheduled in advance so that the operations team has time to prepare for what that conversation is going to be like and how they can help facilitate the client. When they are on the spot, that's generally where they don't get their best results from. And so most of the tasks that come to our operations team, unless they are critical, if they are critical and time sensitive, then we will make sure that we email the operations lead and we'll say, hey, for this client, we need this and this done by this date. And then that will be outside of the memorandum for immediate things. And those are immediate things. Those are time escalated things. But most of our actions for our team members come across in that memo. So when our relationship managers are processing the memorandums for all of the financial advisors in our office, there's a really heavy burden assigned to that. And so sometimes when we start Surge, our memos will be, kind of same week, and it'll be good to go. But as we get into the middle or end of Surge, that memorandum could be 3 to 5 days behind. And so operations, when Surge ends for us, they're still getting tasks assigned to them inside of the memos. Now, those tasks are filtered through our leads, and our leads for both relationship manager and operations team have to assign the priority level to them. And because they are the leads, they understand when things are time sensitive. I do not presume that they understand the deadline. I, as a financial advisor, have the responsibility, as do all financial advisors, to articulate when that deadline is and why it is important. I don't care if they've been there 2 months or 20 years. If it is deadline sensitive, I am not going to presume anyone understands that deadline except for me. And I'm going to articulate that to my team. And then they're going to go set up their processes. Everything that we do in our office is either a task or process or a blueprint. A task is a one-off activity. It involves one person getting one action done. A process involves multiple steps and multiple people. A blueprint is a if this then that scenario. Engineers use this a lot, and this is things like, is this a yes? Okay, go here. Is this a no? Okay, go here. And it requires a lot of filtering and deciphering based on if this then that actions that need to be taken. And so our operations team is going to be so busy even when surge concludes. This is another reason I like to get the heck out of Dodge after our surge concludes, because I generate a lot of work whenever someone is around me. It's an idea, it's a project, it's an article, it's content, it's tasks, it's processes. I generate a lot of work, and I need to get out of the way and conclude my surge before re-entering that office and making a mess of my team wondering what they're doing. Because financial advisors who are idle will go look at other employees as if those employees are also idle, and they'll just start making up things that the employees need to do. My employees understand, my team understands that they have work that needs to get done, and then I have to give them the respect and dignity to remove myself and allow them the opportunity to get the things done that we said we were going to do before generating more work. This has been a super high overview of what surge looks like for the financial advisor, relationship manager, and operations. If you want to dive more into what surge is and how to expect what it will look like in your practice once you start implementing it, if you are an Invictus member, make sure that you schedule time with Tracy Ottinger. She's our Chief Growth Officer, and she will walk you through things that you need to be doing pre-surge to get ready for it, during surge, and then of course post-surge. If you are a Backstage Pass member and you want an example of what our surge schedule looks like, make sure you email us and we will take you through an example of what the calendar looks like for surge for us at Shalansky and Associates. You know that through our YouTube videos, our webinars, our podcasts, and our memberships that we are 100% about transforming the industry so that we can all be in pursuit of creating perfect registered investment advisory firms. That way we can deliver more value to clients. We can make sure that we're spending time with the ones that we love the most outside of the office. And then 3, we want to be highly profitable in everything that we do. And that means we need to do what works. So we're going to bring you to our action item, which of course is number 1, take our surge schedule. If you are not implementing surge for your clients, what are you doing with your life? You need to be implementing surge. You will be at your highest level of performance. It is across any industry, anytime, anywhere. Look at surgeons. Surgeons have clinic days and they have operating days. And those operating days, they have lined up their operations back to back. Look at Olympians. They have practice days and then they go compete in the actual event. Everyone who's a high performer implements surge in some way in their own lives. And if you want to be a high performing person and you want your team to rise to that level of excellence, then you need to go implement surge right away. And don't sit there and reinvent the wheel. You know how many people emailed in to theperfectria.com and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing surge, but maybe I'll do these dates instead. Okay, sure. Just throw away our decades of experience of telling you what works with clients and what doesn't, and you go tomfoolery around with those dates and see what happens. Listen, the reason we make these recommendations at theperfectria.com is because between Jarvis Financial and Shalansky and Associates, we've already gone through all the ways not to make a light bulb. And so we've already had all those negative experiences with clients, with team members, with centers of influence, so that we could perfect them out, refine our policies, and get them in front of you so that you can implement this level of perfection. So, number 1, implement surge. Go get it done. 2, once you have surge implemented and you're following the dates and format that we have provided to you, make sure you're doing a dress rehearsal. Dress rehearsal. Bring everyone in the team. Yes, they have to be in business professional clothing if that's what you require. Yes, they have to pretend that we have clients all day. Yes, they got to make the cookies. They got to get the water set up. The coffee's got to be hot. All of those things. The conference rooms have to be stocked. Each of us financial advisors, we go through a mock appointment and we look in our conference room drawers. I want to make sure the damn pins work, that they actually work when they're sitting on the desk. I want to make sure that I have the retirement tax service guide. So when a client asks me a tax question about another state's income tax, I can pull it out and point to the state and I'm already there and prepared. I don't have to memorize that information. I want to make sure that I'm looking at my appointments for the week ahead. Do I have all of the value adds that we said that we would deliver? Do I have the market commentary? Do I have the client's report? Do I have a copy of their one-page plan? Is my team ready for this appointment to take place? Are we ready for that surge to be implemented? Action item number 3, you really have to sit down and look at the way that you're probably processing memorandums. So when you do the memo to record for a client household, follow the SOAP guide. If you're a member of theperfectra.com, email us in and we will get you a copy of the SOAP guide. Subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. Do not presume your team knows the dates and deadlines that you do. Make sure that you're spelling out and you're super articulate everything that you want to have happen post that client meeting. And so that there's no ambiguity, there's no room to guess. They know what's expected of them, when it's expected, and why it's important to get it done. And your team will rise to the occasion. They continually surprise me, sometimes in negative ways, but most of the times in positive ways, about how excellent they are at their jobs when I get out of their way and give them what they need the most. I shared with you as a personal tip, I tend to leave or try to distance myself from the office immediately after surge. That doesn't mean I'm unavailable for questions because operations is still going to have questions, but that does mean I'm trying to no longer generate additional work for them to do because we just are naturally gifted at that. So spend time this weekend, go through these action items, begin to implement it, begin to redesign your practice, begin to implement Surge and everything that you're doing. This is incredible for you, for your clients, and for your team. Incredible, powerful, strategic time that you can deliver the most amount of value with your clients when you implement Surge. All right, TPR Nation, this has been Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer. Go find people who share your values and change the world.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect RIA, the perfect RIA.